Try the host to me.
Hello.
Try the host to me.
So good morning, everyone. Amatullah, please, the host, please. So I think you should transfer the host to me so that I can have a good control of the class. You are the host, Amatullah. So please transfer the host to me so that I can have a good control of the class, because while the class is going on, I have to unmute and do all sorts of things. So please, I'm waiting for you. Wa alaikum salam.
What is today's topic?
What did you say? I can't really hear you.
What is today's topic?
Punctuation. Okay, I'm now the host. Punctuation. Why are you asking? Did you not see the this thing that was sent out, the broadcast message?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about punctuation today. Actually, today's topic will be part of our last topic. Last class we were talking about mechanical accuracy. And part of mechanical accuracy is punctuation. We talked about spelling. That's also part of mechanical accuracy. And today we're talking about punctuation. So I'm coming. Let me check for the slide then. And while we wait for others to join too, I'll be sharing my screen, and as such, I will not be able to read your comments, and I'll be muting everyone too. So if you have anything to say, the right thing to do, just drop your comments. And I'll attend to that later after about a few minutes class. So let me check. Yeah, I've been made the host. Thank you. So I'm now the host. I'll be muting everyone now, please. If you have anything to say, any question, any observation, anything. If you have anything to say now, let me know before starting the class. You can drop your comments in the chat room or use the mic and let me hear you now. Because I'll be muting everyone now. Then I'll be sharing my screen to go through the slides with you guys. And as such, I will not be able to hear anything or attend to anything till I come back. You all get now. So I guess there is no question, there is no observation, maybe probably about the last class or about anything. But can you all hear me? Can you all hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay. How about others? Just one person.
Yes,
sir. We are hearing you, sir.
So I'll be meeting everyone now. All right, thank you. I have muted everyone. So then let me share my screen. Someone said no. Why? Amatullah, why can't you hear me? What's wrong? But you said no now. How come you typed your no? At least you must have heard what I said before you be able to at least know the correct response if you have to respond with yes or no or with other things. So it means you must have heard me. So please give me permission to record the class. Yeah, you can go on. You can go on to record, no problem. Thank you, Morenica. You can hear me. It is fluctuating. Oh, sorry. Maybe it's the service. It is raining everywhere. Here I am presently in Ogun State, and it is raining here. And from what I heard, it is raining in Lagos State. Just try to manage. So I will share the slides to the group too. I will share the slide to the WhatsApp group so that you can go through it after the class too. So you all can record if you want to record. Let me share my screen now and quickly go on with the class. Our time is fast spent. We spent about 6 minutes. So today we'll be talking about punctuation. Punctuation. In our last class, as I said earlier, I said we talked about spelling in our last class. So, and the main topic actually is mechanical accuracy. And mechanical accuracy, just as I said in the last class, is actually a topic that comprises spelling of words, punctuations, and others too. So in our last class, we talked about how to spell words like, okay, when we have E and I, or I and E, which comes first and what is the ruling behind the usage. So we talked about that in our last class. We talked about the use of the British English and the American English. And I gave examples of different spellings. And also we talked about the fact that there are some words where the nouns are spelled differently and the verbs are also spelled differently. When we talked about advice and advice, where the noun will have C, that is advice, ADVICE, and the verb form will have SE, which is ADVISE. Just like also we have believe and believe. The noun would always have EF, while the verb will end with EVE. Do we get now? So today, without wasting much of our time, we're talking about punctuation generally. So punctuation is one of the mechanisms of making ourselves understood in written form. So yeah, actually punctuation is used for both written and spoken English. However, it is more important for written English because in the written form of any work, the punctuation will be very obvious. Unlike the spoken English, in our spoken English, we can only feel or sense or perceive the punctuation from the way the person is speaking. From, let's say, the consistent pause or the final pause after the sentence, or the tone, the intonation. For instance, I'm asking someone, how are you? How are you? From that, we know that this is a question, and as such, it needs to have a question mark. But it is a spoken form of expression, so we would not see the punctuation mark. However, we can wholly perceive that, okay, this is a question. Just like shouting to someone, out, stop. You know, from that, we know that's an exclamation, and if it is written, it has to have exclamation mark. But our area of concern today is the written form, the written form. So as such, it is one of the mechanisms of making ourselves understood in any written work, that's punctuation. As such, it is very, very important. The way a sentence is punctuated can lead to either clarity or confusion. That is, for any written work, the punctuation would serve two main functions. It is either they help us to clarify whatever we are reading, that is, they help us with clarity. We are able to grab whatever we are reading and understood. But they can also serve as confusion. They can also confuse whatever we are reading if that particular work is not well punctuated. In fact, the ability to use punctuation marks appropriately is an important part of the test in English paper. So for every work you'll be writing, that's why I said punctuation is under mechanical accuracy. For any English exam, when it is the, let's say, I don't know if it is in section B or whichever section it is, where you have to write either a letter, essay, summary, letter, essay, article, etc. In this particular segment or section of the exam, you will be, the grade is usually being grouped into different parts, and a part is mechanical accuracy. So under the mechanical accuracy, you will be judged according to your spelling of words. How have you spelled your words, and are you consistent with your spellings? The consistency here simply means that have you been using British English right from start, and what did you use to conclude? Is it still British English, or while you're writing, you had already changed to American English? That's consistency, and it will be judged under the mechanical accuracy. So they will check whatever you've written. Probably you started your first sentence or your first paragraph with British English, and the second paragraph you were using American English. That's not consistent. Also, punctuation also will be judged under the mechanical accuracy, and that is why it is very, very important that we learn the proper or the correct use of punctuation marks. So the ability to make use of punctuation marks appropriately is an important part of the test, of any test in English, because you'll be judged according to how you've punctuated. Even the person that wants to mark your exam or your paper would also, the ability of the person to understand whatever you have written depends on how appropriately you have punctuated. Now, punctuation errors, apart from impeding meanings, are usually penalized under mechanical accuracy in essay writing section of English language examination. I've said this earlier. So punctuation errors, apart from the fact that it would impede the meaning, the intended meaning, for any written work or any communication, there are about 2 to 3 different meanings. There is intended meaning, that is a kind of negotiated meaning, what you intend to communicate and what the person understands from your communication. If you intend to communicate A and the person understands A, then that's intended meaning. It is a negotiated decoding. But if what you have communicated is different from what the person deciphered or what the person understood from your communication, then there is a problem in that communication. Do you get now? So communication is a form of shared meaning, that is understanding between the person that is communicating and the person that is being communicated to. Do we get now? So a bad punctuation or a punctuation error in any written work would impede the meaning. And apart from impeding the meaning, anyone who makes such error would be penalized under the mechanical accuracy in essay writing section of English language examination. So apart from the fact that it would impede meaning, another thing is that whoever makes such mistake will be penalized. So that's one thing we should note again. So it is therefore important to master the use of the following punctuation marks. For this reason, for the fact that any word that is not appropriately punctuated would impede the meaning, and for any written examination, it will also be penalized. That is, such a person will have reduction in marks. So for this reason, it is important that we learn and master the use of the different punctuation marks in English. Now, the first one we'll be talking about is full stop. Yeah, the full stop. So the full stop mark is used at the end of each sentence. Full stop is used at the end of each sentence. In some other instances or in some other textbook or other written work, full stop sometimes are known as, full stop sometimes is known as period. Some people call it period. So example of full stop or where it is being used is practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. So look at the sentence now. Practice makes perfect. A simple sentence, a complete sentence. And how do we know, or how are we able to conclude that, okay, this sentence is a complete one and it is not, there is no continuation, that is, the sentence has ended? This is simply because we found a full stop at the end of the word perfect, which is the last word in the sentence. Now look at the word practice. From what we learned in the last class, this practice here is a what? Is a noun. Abi now? Because it is written as P-A-R-C-T-I-C-E and not S-E. If it had been S-E, then it would be a verb. Do we get now? So this is part of what we learned in the last class. That is the difference in some words, the difference in their noun forms and the verb forms. Do we get? Another example is, okay, another use of full stop is that it is also used to show abbreviations. Full stop is also used to show abbreviations. Example, USA, USA. Look at the full stop between the words here now, USA. Also, we have BA. BA, the USA is the United States of America. We have the BA, the Bachelor of Arts. We have the November here, being abbreviated as NOV. We have the school too. Look at school, the full stop, and etc. too. So note, one thing we should note that we may not put the full stop after some abbreviations. That is, the full stop sometimes after some abbreviations we will not put the full stop, like the WHO. Sometimes you find WHO with full stop. That is the W full stop, the H full stop, the O full stop. Or we can find it sometimes without the full stop, just as the UNESCO too. So the UNESCO, is either you write it with a full stop or without a full stop. And also titles, the Mr., the Mrs., the Doctor. It's either you write the Mr. with full stop or Mr. without full stop. So these are the two basic functions of a full stop. Now to the next word, the comma. The comma. The comma helps in breaking up a sentence into convenient units of thought so that the message is well understood. That is, it helps you to break the sentence into convenient units of thought. If I am trying to express something or I'm writing something, you know, there must be a particular point in time where I would want to pause after I have expressed a thought. Do we get? After expressing a thought in your expression, you want to pause. Do you get? So the only thing that helps you to pause, just a brief pause, that would not mean that probably the sentence has ended, but just a few or a brief pause. The only thing to use in this instance is what? A comma. So it helps us to break up a sentence into convenient units of thought so that the message is well understood. So the following are the common uses of the comma. The first one is to separate words enumerated in series. To separate words enumerated in series. Example, the bed, the chairs, the tables, and all other things were counted. The bed, comma, look at it. A brief pause, the chairs, the tables, and all other things were counted. So look at how I have been able to conveniently break up the sentence. You get now? So I was able to break up the sentences, the sentence rather, conveniently to units of my thought. Okay, the bed, the chairs, the tables, and all other things were counted. It is not the bed, the chairs, the table. No. So it allows one to conveniently express or to conveniently, break up the thoughts into with comma. That is to break up our thoughts and not rushing or not rushing with whatever you want to say, but you conveniently express whatever thought you want to express with just brief pause. Also, the comma is used to mark off the nouns in apposition. It is used to mark off the nouns in apposition. Look at it now. Mrs. White. Mrs. White is the noun, especially the white, the proper noun there. The principal of the King's School is my friend, Mrs. White. The principal of the King's School is my friend. You know, it will not be okay for you to have said, Mrs. White, the principal, Mrs. White, the principal. It is not making sense. Rather, it is confusing. But look at it, Mrs. White, the principal of the King's School is my friend. Do we get now? So this is one of the uses of comma. Another use is to mark off a statement from a dependent question. To mark off a statement from a dependent question. That is a statement to actually differentiate between a statement and a dependent question, because the dependent question must have a what? A question mark. Then how do you now mark off a declarative or a statement generally from that dependent question? The only thing to use is what? A comma, because they are both related. The statement and the dependent question work hand in hand, but we need to just what? To mark off or to differentiate. Look at the example. I don't think you mean what you say. Do you? Do you get? I don't think you mean what you say. Do you? If I had said it this way, I don't think you mean what you say, do you? You know, it is not making enough sense. It is rather confusing. Just that one can use, one's sagacity or wiseness to understand it, but it is not as pleasant as saying in this way that I don't think you mean what you say. Do you? So here, the comma is being used to what? To mark off the statement that I don't think you mean what you say. That's a statement. Do you? Dependent question. So we use the comma here to what? To differentiate between the two. Other uses of a comma is to separate subordinate clauses if there be more than one. That is, if we have more than one subordinate clause in a sentence. we can use a comma to separate the subordinate clauses. Look at the example here. When my new maid came, I asked her who she was, where she came from, how long she would stay with me, and where she would later move to. Look at how convenient I have just read it, because the comma has been able to ease the task of breaking the sentence or the subordinate clauses into convenient thought. Look at it. When my new mate came, one subordinate clause. I asked her who she was. That's another one. Where she came from, another one. How long she would stay with me, and where she would later move to. So the comma here has been able to help us to separate the subordinate clauses. And by separating the subordinate clauses, we are at ease in reading out what the sentence and in understanding whatever meaning the sentence is intended. Now, another use is to separate name from address. To separate name from address. Example, Tony, where are your books? Tony, where are your books? So the comma after Tony has helped us to separate the name from the address. I'm actually addressing someone, asking the person the question that, where are your books? So Tony, where are your books? This is different from saying, Tony, where are your books? Tony, where are your books? But Tony, where are your books? Look at the second example. You must be naughty, Bola. You must be naughty, Bola. Not saying, you must be naughty, Bola. It is not really making sense, and it is rather confusing. But saying it the right way or the appropriate way with the appropriate punctuation would give us this, that you must be naughty, Bola. So the appropriate punctuation would help us to express our thoughts conveniently, and whoever we are writing to will also understand whatever we have intended. So semicolon, the semicolon. This is the third one we're talking about. So the semicolon is used to show contrast, that is to show contrast, difference, to show opposition. Example, to the young, listening to news is boring. To the young, listening to news is boring. To the adult, it is a form of education. To the adult, it is a form of education. So the semicolon here has been used to show contrast between the young and the adult. That is, the young people find listening to news very boring, while the adults rather see it as a form of education, a means of getting information and to be informative and the like. So the semicolon after the boring has been used to show the contrast between the two different expressions. Look at the second example. To indicate a break in a long sentence, in order to avoid using too many commas. To indicate a break in a long sentence in order to avoid using too many commas. So sometimes you may want to indicate break in a sentence, and at the same time you feel the number of commas you have used is too much. Then you want to reduce the comma. One other thing you can use as a replacement for comma is semicolon. Now look at the example. People dread death as women dread the pain of labor. People dread death as women dread the pain of labor. And as that natural dread for death increases in adults, so also is the dread of labor in the pregnant woman. Do we get now? Look at the semicolon was used after labor, after the first labor. That is, people dread death as women dread the pain of labor. Here, we can as well use comma, that is comma, then and another comma, as the natural dread for death increases in the adult. So also is the dread for labor or dread of labor in the pregnant woman. Do we get now? So one other use for semicolon is the fact that we can also use it to break a long sentence in order to avoid using too many commas. Do we get? So the colon The colon. The colon is used to introduce items in a list. It is used to introduce items in a list. For example, Joy's uncle offered her the choice of any of these for her wedding gift. Joy's uncle offered her the choice of any of these for her wedding gift. Then the colon is used to introduce the list. Any of these. Look at it, these, the plural these, which simply means that a list is coming, more than one. Then after the gift, we use what? The colon to introduce the list. The first in the list is what? A ticket to London. The second, a giant refrigerator. The third, a week honeymoon in Nikon Noga Hotel, or a 50,000 naira gold wristwatch. So look at how the semicolon has been used to introduce this list of options for Joy. You get now? So these are the list of options from Joy's uncle being offered for her wedding gift, or offered as a wedding gift rather. So the second example, the colon is also used to separate two sentences when the second sentence is meant to explain more fully. Colon is used to separate two sentences when the second sentence is meant to explain more fully. That is when we have two different sentences, and the second sentence is only there to explain more fully the meaning of the first sentence. So the colon also is used. Look at example. Amina's work is quite unsatisfactory. That's the first sentence. Now we have to introduce another sentence to explain more fully the meaning of the first sentence. Why have we concluded that Amina's work is quite unsatisfactory? Why? Then, with the semicolon, we have introduced another sentence, which is meant to introduce the reason or to explain more fully the meaning of the first sentence. Now, look at it after this, the colon. Our answers are meaningless. Our writing is bad, and our spelling is horrible. So this is why we said our work is quite unsatisfactory. You know, for someone to have said Amina's work is quite unsatisfactory, you'll be surprised. Why? Why have you said that? Then with the introduction of column and saying our answers are meaningless, our writing is bad, and our spelling is horrible. So the semicolon has been introduced to what? To give room for explanation of the first sentence. Question mark, question mark. I'm sure we know this very well. So question mark is used at the end of a question. Question mark is used at the end of a question to indicate what? To indicate interrogation. That is to indicate that this particular sentence needs answer. Now, example, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? So, you know, if you can remember the last time we were talking about type of sentence according to the function, or the classification of sentences according to their function, we talked about the interrogative sentence. You know, we talked about the declarative, the imperative, the interrogative. Even we talked about the exclamation too. But here, this question mark is used for what? Interrogative sentences. So for each of the examples of interrogative sentence, you will find a what? A question mark. Now look at the first example. What does this mean? Where are you? So this is very, very explicit. Question mark is very, very easy to know. Even with the tone, you know that this is a question. Where are you? What does this mean? Do we get now? So even with the intonation, we'll be able to recognize that this is a question. But we are talking about written works here. So the written will need to recognize that this is a question, is what? The question mark. Even though having words like where, what can be interrogative pronouns sometimes, but the question mark is still very what? Very important, especially in exams. If you're asking questions in an exam and you feel because you have made use of interrogative pronoun and you feel the person will know it is a question, no, you are wrong. You still need to include the question mark to indicate that you know what you're writing about. So now it's exclamation mark. The exclamation mark is used after or an exclamatory sentence. If you can recall what we talked about in the class where we're discussing sentence, we talked about exclamatory sentence too. So here is an example, another example of exclamatory sentence. Hello, where are you? Hello. The first hello here is what? An exclamation. Hello, so it is like an interjection rather with exclamation mark. Oh my God. Oh my God. Some people will say, oh my God. Whichever way. But what we are trying to say here is, or what we are trying to point out here is the fact that it is an exclamatory sentence. So the exclamation is what is most important. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, there are different ways to express exclamation. Depends on your mood. So this is exclamation mark for you. Then dash. Dash. The dash is used to show an interruption in the flow of thought. The dash is used to show interruption in the flow of thought. Example, it must be advised, not scolded, as scolding will worsen his case. You know, you're talking to someone. Let's say you are talking to someone at the moment. You're trying to tell the person that he must be advised and not scolded. Then after you said that, you pause a little. Now, as scolding will worsen the case. So the dash there is used to what? To show the interruption in the flow of thought, that this person, while he was talking, he made a brief pause. Then probably he thought about what to say next before saying, as scolding will worsen the case. Do we get? So another use of dash is to show words that are in apposition. E.g., I have done all I was asked to do. I have done all I was asked to do. Sweep the floor, wash the clothes, prepare the meal. Do we get now? I have done all I was asked to do. Then sweep the floor, wash the clothes, and prepare the meal. So these are the uses of dash. Then to the next one, the hyphen. The hyphen. Though even the dash and the hyphen look similar, they look similar, but the dash is quite longer than the hyphen. So that's the difference. And there are differences in their uses too. Now, the hyphen is used in compound words. The hyphen is used in compound words. Okay. The hyphen, sorry, is used in compound words like father-in-law, mother-in-law, editor-in-chief, and the likes. So these are compound words. So hyphen is used in compound word just to group the word and to show it is just a single word, but it is in compound. Father-in-law, editor-in-chief. You know, for any newspaper organization, there are different editors. Even sub-editor too. For the word sub-editor too, you find an hyphen between the sub and the editor. We get now. So also the hyphen is also used when one gets to the end of a line and a word has been broken, or there is a mistake here, has been broken or has to be broken. It is has to be broken. When one gets to the end of a line, you know, you are writing in your book now, you're writing in your notebook, and getting to the end of the line, you discover that the last word you are writing at that moment has to be broken. Then the only way you can do it is what? To write some parts of the word, then indicate with an hyphen that this word is not complete, but will be continued in the next line. That is, the word here is not complete, but there is a continuation in the next line. However, there is a mistake, that a common mistake among people. There is a way to break words. You don't just break word anyhow. You break it according to the syllable, the inherent syllable in the word. Let's say, for instance, the last word we have before the end of the line is broken. Now you want to, the word broken, you need to break it. Yeah, you need to break the word broken. You write part in the line, then you continue the next line with the remaining parts of the word. Broken. Look at the syllable. How many syllables does broken have? Just two. Broken. Just two syllables. The first syllable is what? Bro. Then you write bro with your hyphen. Then you write kun in the next line. It is not that you now write br or just b. Some people can write just b or br. Then you go to the next line to write okun. No, it is wrong. And also writing, let's say you write broke, B-R-O-K. Then in the next line, you write E-N. That one is also wrong too. So you group the word or you break the word in accordance with the word, with the inherent syllables, and not just with your own decision. Do you get now? Just like the word broken, right? Bro, B-R-O, your hyphen, then to the next line you write the K-E-N. So this is the appropriate way to break any word where you get to the end of a line. So what you use is hyphen, you don't use dash. So the difference between hyphen and dash is that hyphen is shorter compared to dash. Now, quotation marks. Quotation marks. So quotation marks are used to indicate direct speech. Quotation marks are used to indicate direct speech. That something or somebody is being quoted. That is, you want to indicate directly that, okay, this thing I'm saying or this thing I'm writing about, I'm quoting someone directly. It is not my word. So it is used to indicate direct speech that something or someone is being quoted. Example, Shakespeare said, neither a borrower nor a lender be. Full stop. Look at the word in quotes. Neither a borrower nor a lender be. So that's what Shakespeare said. Put it on here. Look at the second example. The man looked around and said, this house is not for me. The man looked around and said, this house is not for me. Look at the word, this house is not for me, be in quotes. Also, the quotation mark is also used to indicate the title of a newspaper, book, or a poem. Example, Daily Times, Punch. You can have Punch and series of newspaper, Nigerian newspaper. Look at another name of book, The Lion and the Jewel. The Lion and the Jewel. So the quotation mark here is also used to indicate the title of a newspaper. It can also be used to indicate the title of a book and also the title of a poem. Do we get now? So one thing we should note, is that the quotation mark can be double or single. Sometimes we find some quotation just single quotation and not the double quotation. So either of them can be used, but the user must be consistent. If you feel for any written word, for whatever you are writing, probably in an examination or you are writing a letter, then you want to quote someone, or you are writing an essay and you want to quote someone, your first quotation, if your first quotation is carrying two quotation marks, a double quotation, then you need to maintain that double quotation till the end of your writing. And if you start with what? If you're starting with the single quotation, then you must end with what? The single quotation. So the rule here is that you must be consistent. Also, another way they use both is that let's say, for instance, you have a quotation, a long quotation, and within that quotation, there's another quotation. So the very first quotation, the longer one can have the two quotation mark, the double quotation mark. While within it, if you intend to quote another thing, then that one can carry the single quotation, even though it is not common. But the double quotation and the single quotation can be used interchangeably. But the only rule is that we need to be consistent with whichever one we want to use for any written word. If you are starting with a double quotation, make sure you maintain and you end whatever you are writing with the double quotation. And if it is otherwise, make sure you end it with what? With the single quotation. So the next one is apostrophe. Apostrophe. The apostrophe is used to indicate the possessive case. That is, it is used to show possession. In my father's town. In my father's town. Father's town. The apostrophe before the S shows what? Possession. That is Bola's book. Bola's book. So Bola's book here, the apostrophe before the S is showing possession of the book. That Bola possesses the what? The book. So that's the first function of the apostrophe. However, in using the apostrophe, there is a, if it is plural and if it is singular, how do we use the apostrophe? Now, for example, now we have the Muslim Students Society. The Muslim Students Society. Now, the Muslim Students Society is not for a single student, but rather for, many students. Simply means that the student there is what? In the plural form. Now, for the fact that the student is in plural form, the apostrophe has to come after the S and not before the S. So if it is plural, then the apostrophe will come after the S and not before the S. If you look at the first example here, in my father's town, if it had been in their father's town, then the apostrophe will come after the S and not before the S because we're talking about more than one father. Do we get? But there are some words that denote plural in themselves, like the word people. The word people is plural in itself without adding S to it. Do we get? So So if you want to add S to it to show possession, the apostrophe will not be coming after the S anymore because the word people is already indicating plural. Then the apostrophe has to come with what? Before the S and not after the S. That's the exception. Now, the other use of apostrophe is the fact that the omission of a letter or letters. So it is used to show or to indicate the omission of a letter or letters. Example, in contracted form, you want to indicate that, okay, I want to write I am, the I am. You know, in the contracted form, you can write it as I am, the some people pronounce as am, but it's still I am. That is, you are showing that A has been omitted in your I am. Now, the apostrophe is now being used to show the contraction, that the word has been contracted. Look at don't, don't. You know, don't can also be written as, or the root is actually do not. The root is do not. But we want to show that this word has been contracted, that is, it has been changed. A particular letter or letters have been omitted. Here in don't, a single letter have been omitted, which is O. You get the O between not. So we can now use apostrophe to indicate that a letter is missing here because the word is in contracted form. Don't. Another example is you are. You are. Because we omitted the A, then we can use the apostrophe to indicate omission of a letter. So that's another use of apostrophe. The first one is to show possessive case, while the second one is to show omission of a letter or letters if they are more than one. Now, the last one is capital letter. So this is also part of punctuation too, because the capital letter would indicate something for every sentence. Now, the first one is that the capital letter is used at the beginning of a sentence. The capital letter is used at the beginning of a sentence. Example, the man has come. The man has come. Look at it. The man has come. The first letter, T, is what is in the capital letter, and that's the rule. The second one, the capital letter is also used at the beginning of a proper noun. For any proper noun, I'm sure we know the difference between the proper and the common noun. So for every proper noun, something that is directly to someone and or something and not general. For instance, Ayo. Example, Ayo. So Ayo is a proper noun, and as such, it needs to be written in what? Or uh, with capital letter. That is, the first letter needs to be written in capital letter. Look at Thursday. Thursday, that's day of the week. So Thursday is a proper noun. So that's why the T is written in capital letter. June, proper noun. Lagos, Nigeria. So that's just it. Even it is also used, capital letter is used at the beginning of titles. Like when we're talking about chieftaincy title, let's say the Alaafin of Oyo, what's about, okay, the Oba of Lagos. I think that's how it's called. The Akinolu of Lagos or something. I don't really know. But the Alaafin Oyo, the Oni of Ife, and the like. So the capital letter is also used at the beginning of title. So beginning of names, beginning of title. Also salutations or title. Yeah, title like doctor, Mr., Madam. You get, so the capital letter is also used there too. So I guess this is the end of the class. So if you have any question, just drop your question in the chat, or you can raise up your hand and I will mute so I can listen to your questions. And I hope you all understood all I have just said. So I'm coming. So it is 1 p.m. already. Let me have your questions. Someone said, I can't hear anything. Wow. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Amatullah, for telling the person to leave and come back. So, not clear. What's not clear? You say not clear. I can't explain everything over again. You just ask your question. Let me know what is not clear to you, then I explain. So what you can do now is to raise up your hand. You can use this thing to raise up your hand while I unmute you to listen to your question, or you send your question to the chat room. So Ibnu Saka, I will be unmuting you now. So you can unmute yourself. You've been asked to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Moranika, let me hear you. Do you have any question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm listening.
So are these This topic that you taught today.
You what?
This topic that you taught us today,
Yes.
by semicolon. So can we write a letter to it, like this COVID-19, this pandemic? Can we write a letter to this semicolon? Writing a letter. Can we do that, sir?
I don't get. Can you write a letter to do what?
This semicolon is like a letter. Semicolon.
Semicolon, like I don't get your question.
So I'll tell you, sir. I'll think about it, sir. I'm coming.
Okay, no problem. All right. So Ibn Saka, let me hear you now.
Sir, please, is there any difference between semicolon and colon?
Yeah, there is difference there now. So there is difference in two different forms. Semicolon is a full stop and a comma, while colon is two full stop. Now the difference in their use this time around is that semicolon is used to show contrast. Semicolon is used to show contrast in the sense that, let me mute you first so that you can hear me. Now, semicolon, just as I said, it is used to show contrast. Here, the contrast is that you are stating something, and after stating it, what the next sentence to come after your first expression is in contrast, that is opposition. It's not the same thing, it's different from what you have said earlier. It is like a direct opposite of what you have said earlier. So what you use is semicolon. The example I gave was, to the young, listening to news is boring. In this sentence, after the word boring, use a semicolon. To the adult, it is a form of education. So we are actually contrasting two different expressions, that listening to news to the young is boring. While to the adult, it is what? It is a form of education. So here, semicolon is used. Also, semicolon is used to indicate break in a long sentence. That is, there I said it can be used to replace comma. For wherever you feel the use of comma may be too many. That is, you want to avoid using too many commas, then you can use semicolon in your sentence. However, colon has two main functions. The first one is to indicate a list of something. You are talking about something now, and after your expression, a list will be coming. Then, to introduce that list, you can use a colon. The example I gave was that, okay, Joy's uncle offered her the choice of any of these for our wedding gift. Then a colon. After the colon, you introduce the list, the wedding list or the wedding gift. A ticket to London, a giant refrigerator, a week honeymoon, a Nikon Noga, a week honeymoon in Nikon Noga Hotel, and a 50,000 naira gold wristwatch. So here, this list I have just read to your hearings are being introduced with a colon and not semicolon. So a colon is used to introduce list also, and also it is used to separate sentence when the second sentence is meant to explain or to explain more fully the meaning of the first sentence. Now you have two sentences, and you don't want to use full stop to separate the sentence, because the second sentence is explaining more fully the intended meaning of the first sentence. What you have to use is what? A colon. Unlike semicolon, if you are using semicolon for two different sentences, it means there is difference in the sentence. That is, the second sentence is direct opposite. But for colon, the second sentence is explaining more fully the meaning of the first sentence. So these are the differences in the use of colon and semicolon. So do you understand now, Ibn Saka? You can unmute yourself again. I can hear you. Ibn Saka? Okay, so Techno P7. Okay, Ibn Saka, I can hear you now. Do you understand? Okay, let me move to the next person. Techno P701. Let me have your question. Techno P701, I can hear you. Go with your question. Okay, let me move to seems there is no any question anymore. So guess we've come to the end of the class. Okay, Ibn Saka, what are you? Is there anything again? I did. I unmuted you. Okay, let me do that again so that I can hear you. So you've been you'll be the one to unmute yourself. So I've asked you to unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself now. Do it yourself. Okay, so I can hear you now. So do you understand what I just explained? Wow. Okay, let me move to AK. AK, you've been asked to unmute yourself. Go on with your question, please.
The question is that, like, can you use the dash line and call it hyphen too? Oh.
No, I said the difference between the hyphen and the dash is that the dash is longer than the hyphen, and they have different uses of functions. So for whichever one you'll be using, just now, okay, I'm using hyphen here, I'm using a dash here. There's difference between their use, and there's difference between how they are being written. Now the dash is longer than the hyphen, and the use of the dash is to show interruption in the flow of thought. When you are saying something and you want to show interruption, okay, this thing I'm saying, there is a continuation, but there is a brief pause or interruption in your flow of thought. You could not enthuse your point or express your point, straight in, let's say immediately, straightforward. Your point was not straightforward, so there was a kind of pause or in your flow of thought. So you use dash. Another way or function of dash is to show a position. Let's say you are talking about something. For instance, now I think I give an example like I have done all I was asked to do. I have done all I was asked to do. Then you want to like introduce all what you did. Then you said I have done all I was asked to do. Then a brief dash. Now I say sweep the floor, wash the clothes, and prepare the meal. However, hyphen is basically used for two things. The first one is in compound words. In compound words, let's say for instance, where I mentioned father-in-law. Father-in-law is made up of compound word. Father-in-law, like editor-in-chief. Editor-in-chief. Words like this are what group with hyphen. And also, whenever you are writing and you get to the end of the line in your notebook, you need to break the word. You need to break the word into two, then continue the other part of the word in the second line. The only thing you can use to indicate a break in the word is what the hyphen and not a dash. So there's a difference between their use, and you cannot use dash to claim you use hyphen. You rather state whatever you have used. Just note that the hyphen is shorter, while the hyphen, the dash is what longer. So, what other thing is there? Another question? You said I didn't. It didn't allow. I allowed you already, so I don't know what's wrong, Ibn Saka. So this is the last time I will ask you to unmute again. So you've been asked to unmute. You've been asked to unmute. Go on with your question, Ibn Saka. So I don't know what's wrong. So I guess we have Abdul Rahim Afsar. Abdul Rahim Afsar. Go on with your question. Abdul Rahim Afsar, what do you have to say?
So how do you know how do you differentiate between hyphen and how do so
I can't really hear you.
how do you differentiate between hyphen and dash?
How do you differentiate between hyphen and dash? Is it in the written form or in the uses?
In the written
See how
form.
they are being written.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, I said the dash will be longer, while the hyphen is always short. So hyphen is just like the combination of two hyphen or ball will give us dash. So hyphen is just very short, but the dash is long. And again, most time, whenever you find this thing, for instance, whenever you find a compound word like father-in-law, the way father-in-law is written, there is usually small hyphen, small line within father before the in, and after the in there will be another one again. Do we get? So for words like this, okay, this is an hyphen, or this are hyphen. And also, whenever you find the dash after, for instance, you see someone you are reading from your friend's book, and from what you are reading, you find out that okay, when he got to the end of the line when writing something, then he got to the end of the line, he wanted to write the word broken. But the remaining space cannot be enough to write the word broken. So he had to break the word into two that broke. Then he wrote BRO, dash. So a BRO, then what you had written after the BRO, the line, the small line is hyphen, then continuation with con. So that one is not dash. So whatever is different from this one is a dash. Do you get now? Do you understand? I can't hear you. Okay, I guess that's all. So we've come to the end of the class. So we thank Almighty God who has made to this class a very good task for us. So we pray may He spare our lives to witness many more learning opportunity in life. So I wish you, what do I wish you? Enjoy the rest of the day, please. Enjoy the rest of the day. So you can begin to leave. You can begin to leave. So I will drop the material in the WhatsApp group. Inshallah, I'll drop it. I'll drop it anywhere from now. So that's the end of the class. You can begin to leave. Thank you.